In the investigation of any air disaster, we are usually obsessed with metal. We look for bent turbine blades, we analyze fuel samples, we reconstruct aerodynamic vectors and lift coefficients. We turn the tragedy into a math problem. Because math is solvable, math makes sense, math doesn't hurt. But this week, the investigation into the crash that claimed the life of Greg Biffle's daughter Emma and 6 others shifted from the mechanical to the deeply human. The metal has stopped talking for now. But the silence has been broken by something far more devastating. A text message and a letter. 2 documents. One digital, sent in the chaotic final seconds of a life. One physical, written in the agonizing silence of the aftermath. Together, they tell a story that no black box could ever record. They tell us about the hopes that were extinguished, the fear that was realized, and the love that remains. For the past month, we have asked how the plane crashed. Today, we must confront who was on board, and what they knew in those final, terrifying moments. We have learned that the crash was not instantaneous. We have learned that inside the cabin, there was awareness, there was time, there was a realization of the end. And we have learned about a ticket to Italy, a promise of a future that was bought less than 24 hours before the end. This is the Air Debrief, and this is the human timeline of the Statesville tragedy. To understand the magnitude of a loss, you first have to understand the magnitude of the hope that preceded it. In aviation safety, we talk about normalcy bias. It is the psychological state where the brain refuses to believe a disaster will happen because it has never happened before. We assume the flight will take off. We assume we will land. We assume tomorrow will come. Nicole, Emma Biffle's mother, and Greg Biffle's ex-wife released a letter this week. It wasn't a press release. It was a confession of a broken heart. In that letter, she revealed a detail that hits harder than any wreckage photo. The night before the flight, less than 4 hours before the tragedy, Nicole had purchased a Christmas gift for Emma. It wasn't a toy, it wasn't a gadget, it was an experience. Tickets to Italy. Just pause and let that sink in. Think about the psychology of buying an international trip for your child. It is an investment in the future. You are imagining them walking down the streets of Rome, eating pasta in Florence, seeing the Colosseum. You are visualizing a timeline that extends months, even years into the future. That ticket represents the absolute certainty of survival. When Emma boarded that Citation jet on that gray morning in Statesville, she wasn't just flying to Florida. She was flying toward Italy. She was flying toward Christmas. She was flying toward a future that had already been paid for. This detail is crucial not just for the emotional weight, but for the forensic reconstruction of the passenger's mindset. They were happy. They were expectant. The mood in that cabin, as the engines spooled up, would have been one of excitement. Nicole wrote in her letter about the agony of that purchase. How a symbol of joy turned instantly into a symbol of what was stolen. She wrote, "I will agonize over this for the rest of my life. This is the burden of the survivor. The guilt of planning a future that the universe had already decided to cancel." But the letter revealed something else, something that adds a layer of complexity to the decision to fly that day. Emma wasn't feeling well. Nicole revealed that Emma was sick. She didn't feel good that morning. In a normal situation, maybe you stay home, maybe you drive. But they chose to fly. Why? In human factors analysis, we look for external pressures. When a passenger is sick or tired or just wants to get home, it creates a subtle, invisible pressure on the operation. It's called mission pressure. Let's just get there. It's a short flight. We'll be in Florida in an hour. You can rest on the plane. Did this desire to get a sick child to a comfortable destination influence the decision to launch into marginal weather? Did it rush the pre-flight checks? We don't know. But we know that love often drives us to push boundaries. We want to deliver our loved ones to safety, to comfort. The tragedy is that the vehicle chosen for that comfort became the agent of destruction. The Italy ticket and the sick passenger are 2 sides of the same coin. The intense, driving desire to provide a good life for a child. A desire that, in a cruel twist of fate, ended on a golf course in North Carolina. For weeks, the narrative was that the plane suffered a catastrophic failure on takeoff and plunged instantly into the ground. We took some comfort in that. We hoped it was instant. We hoped they never knew. But a new piece of evidence reported by IDN-TV has shattered that comfort. A text message, sent from a passenger's phone, received by a loved one on the ground. 2 words: emergency landing. From a forensic standpoint, these 2 words are the most significant evidence we have found since the crash site itself. Let's deconstruct what it takes to send a text message in 2025. It is not a reflex. It is a complex cognitive and motor sequence. First, you must realize something is wrong. Second, you must overcome the startle effect, the initial freeze response. Third, you must make a conscious decision to communicate. Fourth, you must locate your phone, whether it's in a pocket, a purse, or a cup holder. Fifth, you must unlock it using Face ID or a passcode. Sixth, you must open the Messages app. Seventh, you must type the words. And eighth, you must hit send. And finally, the signal must travel from the phone through the aluminum fuselage to a cell tower and confirm delivered. This sequence takes time. In a calm room, it takes 5 to 8 seconds. In a vibrating, banking, plummeting jet, it could take 10 to 15 seconds. What does this tell us about the flight? It proves that the passengers were not unconscious. It proves the plane did not explode in midair immediately. It proves that there was a period of sustained terror. But it also proves something else. Something about the pilot. If a passenger texted emergency landing, where did they get that information? They didn't guess. Passengers don't use the phrase emergency landing when a plane is just bumpy. They use that phrase when they are told. This implies communication from the cockpit. It suggests that in the midst of the chaos, struggling with a heavy jet, a failed engine, or an open baggage door, the pilot took a split second to shout back to the cabin, "We're going back!" Emergency landing. Or perhaps the passengers saw the ground rising up. Perhaps they saw the trees. But the phrasing is specific. It implies a plan. It implies hope. Emergency landing is not a death sentence. It is a procedure. It means we are in trouble, but we have a plan to get down. That text message was a beacon of hope sent out to the world. A final update. Don't worry, we are just landing early. The tragedy is that the text survived, but the plan failed. The timestamp of that message, once correlated with the ADSB data, will give investigators the exact moment of loss of hope. If the text was sent at T-minus 10 seconds, it means they were fighting all the way down. It transforms the passengers from passive victims into active participants in their final moments. They were aware. They were reaching out. They were saying goodbye, even if they didn't know it was goodbye. The emotional weight of the text message is compounded by the professional confusion of the aviation community. Mark Martin is a name that needs no introduction in NASCAR. But many don't know he is also an accomplished jet pilot. He flies these machines. He knows the risks. When news of the text message and the flight profile broke, Mark Martin didn't offer condolences. He offered a single, chilling word: disturbing. Why did he choose that word? Because to a pilot, a crash like this should not happen. The Citation jet is a capable machine. Even on one engine, it can fly. Even with a door open, it can fly. Disturbing means the pieces don't fit. Disturbing means there is a disconnect between the machine's capability and the pilot's performance. And most disturbing of all, the radio silence. We have a text message from the cabin saying emergency landing, but we have, so far, no reports of a mayday call from the cockpit to air traffic control. Think about that disparity. The passengers had time to text, the pilot did not have time to talk. Why? In aviation, the hierarchy of survival is aviate, navigate, communicate. Number 1, aviate. Fly the airplane. Keep the shiny side up. Number 2, navigate. Figure out where you are going. Number 3, communicate. Talk to the tower. If there was no radio call, it means the pilot never made it past step 1 or 2. He was stuck in aviate. He was wrestling the machine. This points to task saturation. Imagine the cockpit. Alarms blaring, the yoke shaking, the horizon tilting. The pilot is using both hands, both feet, and every ounce of brain power just to keep the plane from flipping. He doesn't have a spare hand to key the mic. He doesn't have a spare neuron to form a sentence to the tower. But he did communicate with his passengers. Or they communicated with each other. The text message proves that the silence on the radio wasn't because they were dead. It was because they were too busy trying to live. Mark Martin finds this disturbing because a trained crew should be able to handle an engine failure without losing total control. The fact that they couldn't, the fact that it spiraled so quickly into a fight for survival suggests something catastrophic happened that we still don't understand. Was it the baggage door ingesting into the engine? Was it a control cable snapping? Whatever it was violent enough to silence a professional pilot, but slow enough to allow a passenger to type a final message. That acts as a terrifying window into the cockpit dynamics. We return now to Nicole's letter, because while the NTSB investigates the aluminum, Nicole has to investigate her own memory. She wrote about the last yes. Emma was sick. Nicole could have said, no, you're not going. She could have kept her home. She could have saved her life with a single word. But she said yes. She let her go. She bought the ticket to Italy. She packed the bags. This is the unique torture of the surviving parent. It is the if-only game. If only I hadn't bought the tickets. If only I had made her stay home. If only the weather had been worse and canceled the flight, Nicole wrote. I let her go anyway. Those 5 words carry the weight of the world. But we must be clear, and we must be kind. This is not her fault. This is hindsight bias. At the moment she said yes, it was a decision made of love. It was a decision to let her daughter live, to experience life, to go see her father, to go to Italy. Parents make these decisions 1,000 times a day. We let our kids get on the school bus, we let them drive to the movies, we let them board planes. 99.999% of the time, they come home. Tragedy strikes when the statistical anomaly collides with the everyday decision. Nicole is agonizing over a decision that, on any other day, would have been the right one. Her letter forces us to confront the fragility of our own choices. We think we are in control. We think if we just plan enough, buy the right tickets, check the weather, we can protect them. But sometimes, gravity and fate have other plans. The upcoming memorial on January 16th at Bojangles Coliseum will be a public display of this grief. Thousands will attend. The NASCAR community will wrap its arms around the families. But when the lights go out and the crowds go home, Nicole will still be left with that ticket to Italy. A boarding pass for a flight that will never depart. So, what do we do with this new information? How do we process the emergency landing text and the Italy ticket? We use them to change how we view this accident. It is no longer just a crash. It is a narrative of interrupted lives. The emergency landing text is not just evidence. It is a testament to the human spirit. Even in the face of death, the instinct was to connect, to communicate, to hope. That passenger didn't text, "We are going to die." They texted, "Emergency landing." They believed they would make it. They fought for that belief until the ground rushed up to meet them. And the Italy ticket? It stands as a reminder to us, the living. We are all holding tickets to our own Italys. We all have plans for next Christmas, next summer, next year. We assume we will take those trips, but aviation and life offers no guarantees. The Greg Biffle crash teaches us that the distance between buying the ticket and taking the trip is infinite. It teaches us that a yes can be the last thing we say. As we wait for the final NTSB report, let us not get lost solely in the mechanics of baggage doors and turbine blades. Let us remember the Italy ticket. Let us remember the text message. And let us remember that for Nicole, and for all the families left behind, the emergency landing never ended. They are still in the crash. They are still falling. Our job, as a community, is to be the ground that catches them now. I'm your host for the Air Debrief. Hug your loved ones, send that text, take that trip, and as always, fly safe.